Jamb candidate, you are welcome to today's lesson continuation in our biology. Biology is ending this week, and we are looking at hormonal control. Hormonal control. We want to understand hormones, the endocrine system in both animals and plants. All right. So, first of all, we have to understand what hormones are. Okay, we have to understand what hormones are. Let me just give you the easiest way to know what a hormone is. Okay, the most simplified way to understand hormones. Hormones are chemical messenger. Just think of who they go message for you. Think of that person as a chemical. Okay, you send the chemical message. The chemical goes to that place and cause something to happen. You pour a chemical into somewhere, or you release a chemical into something, and that chemical circulates, is transported to a particular place. A particular place. One hormone has its own specific function to a what? A particular place, and it goes there to what? To cause an effect. That's a hormone. That's a hormone, and they are usually secreted by ductless glands. Their glands are ductless. When you say their glands are ductless, it means that it is not secreted into somewhere. Okay, it's not like the intestine now, where you have the pancreas secreting what's it called? Secreting pancreatic juice into the intestine, or you have the gallbladder releasing bile into the intestine, or you have the parietal cell of the stomach secreting hydrochloric acid into the stomach. No, that one is organs or glands with dots. When you say the endocrine glands are ductless, it means that they don't have any dots. They don't get where they come out from. They are what? They are secreted directly into the bloodstream. Directly into the bloodstream. So that's for what? The hormone definition. All right. Now let's look at animal hormone. Okay. And I told you that these hormones in animal, for example, I'm just talking about animal, but it's general thing. But in animal, it is secreted by endocrine glands. It is endocrine glands that will secrete these hormones directly into the bloodstream to go and cause an effect in a particular place. Hormone is a chemical messenger. If you send hormone, say, make it come make my nose big. If it come, not only my nose, it go make big. It no go touch my eye, it no go touch my mouth. Now only my nose, it go fit act on. Chemical messenger. You send them go, now that place where they go, now in mind your day. Okay? So there are hormones that work immediately, and there are also hormones that takes time to work. Okay, we are going to look at that, but I just want you to have a clue of that. All right. So for animal hormones, they are secreted by endocrine glands. All right, and we have a master gland called what? The pituitary gland that controls the whole endocrine gland or the endocrine system. All right, pituitary gland is also known as master gland. It is located around the hypothalamus. Is what is adjacent to the hypothalamus or beneath the hypothalamus, and it releases hormones that controls growth. And also, it has other glands like other glands are found in the pituitary, such as the thyroid gland. They are part of the pituitary. The thyroid gland secretes what? Tyrosine, which helps in what? Growth and metabolism. All right. Okay, it is through metabolism that it helps with growth, because when you metabolize, energy is produced. Your size adds. You add up in size. So it is true. The growth aspect of tyrosine is like a secondary aspect of it. Okay, the primary aspect is metabolism. So from metabolism, it leads towards growth. You understand? All right. So we also have the parathyroid gland, which secretes what? The parat hormone or parathyroid hormone. And what does it do? It helps to control calcium level. Okay, it controls what? Calcium level. Remember, the thyroid gland does not secrete only tyrosine. It also secretes a hormone called calcitonin. Okay, and this calcitonin works hand in hand with parathyroid hormone or with the parathyroid gland to regulate calcium level in the blood. One increases the calcium level in the blood, while the other reduces the calcium level in the blood. Parat hormone or parathyroid hormone increases the calcium level of the blood, while calcitonin reduces the calcium level of the blood. The next we have under the endocrine gland, we have the adrenal gland, and it's just located on top each of your kidney, each of your two kidneys. You have the adrenal gland, and the adrenal gland produces the catecholamines or the adrenal hormones. Okay, that's where you have the adrenaline. It produces adrenaline. Okay, it also produces cortisol. The corticotropic hormone. Okay, you have hormones like adrenocorticotropic hormones, where you have the glucocorticoid and the mineralocorticoid. The glucocorticoid helps towards to control glucose level in the blood, while the mineralocorticoid helps towards to control the volume of mineral in the blood. Minerals such as potassium, calcium, chlorine, those electrolytes in the blood. That's the function of the mineralocorticoid hormone produced by the adrenal gland. All right. So when a person has problem with the adrenal gland, what do you expect? Maybe there is a tumor there. Okay, maybe you have a tumor or sustain an accident, a trauma to the adrenal gland. What should you expect? Those stops, those physiological process that it moderates. There's going to be what? There's going to be a defect in them. There are going to be insufficiencies in those activities that you usually carry out. Okay, which is glucose control, mineral regulation, and so on and so forth. So the patient or the person is going to come down with various various insufficiencies. Okay, so the next we have under the endocrine gland, we have the pancreas. It secretes what? A hormone called insulin. Remember, the pancreas has both the exocrine function and the endocrine function. Its exocrine function is for the, you know, the parts that the pancreas has to what? To secrete its juice through pancreatic ducts. You know that the exocrine glands has, you know, the exocrine glands have ducts. Okay, so like when the pancreas secretes or releases pancreatic juice into the intestine during digestion, okay, that's pancreatic juice. That's what? Exocrine function. But the endocrine function of the pancreas is to what? To secrete insulin and glucagon. Okay, it also has two other hormones called somatostatin and pancreatic polypeptide. But for this level, let's stick with insulin and glucagon. Okay, what is the function of insulin? Both of them work opposite, okay, to each other. This one upregulate this one that regulates something. All right, both of them now sugar matter that they do. Okay, so insulin helps to regulate sugar level. Okay, it helps to bring down the sugar level, okay, in the blood. While glucagon helps to what? Elevate sugar level. So when the sugar level of the blood is low, glucagon comes into action. Okay, comes into action, and it's, you know, it signals the liver to, you know, start metabolizing all those stored glycogen. They are converted towards glucose so that the body can use up to elevate the sugar level of the body. That's it. Regulating blood sugar level. That's it. Then we also have, as part of the endocrine glands, we also have the gonads. All these are the major glands of the endocrine gland. We have the gonads, and the gonads contains what? The testosterone. That's what the gonads produces. Okay, like the testis. That's where it's found. It is found in the male. It's found in the testis, while in the female is found in the what? The ovary. Okay, the testis produces what? Testosterone, and the female, their ovaries produces what? Estrogen and progesterone. Okay, for both are for reproduction. So the function of the gonads is for reproduction. We are going to look at more diagrams to illustrate all I've said, all I've taught. All right, now this pituitary gland called the master gland is divided into two. It has the anterior and the posterior lobe. Okay, it has two lobes, the anterior and the posterior lobe. It is very, very essential, very important that you know all the hormones you have in the anterior and what? The posterior lobes of the pituitary. I'm going to show you the easiest way to know, okay, the hormones found in each lobe. All right, just know, have it in your mind that this side with the, so this side now for the posterior pituitary lobe, why this side now for the what? All the anterior pituitary hormones, the anterior lobe of the pituitary. Just have it in your mind. Just know that the only hormone found in the posterior lobe of the pituitary is, you just have those two hormones there, only oxytocin and ADH. ADH is what? Antidiuretic hormone, or it can also be called vasopressin. Okay, ADH, antidiuretic hormone, just oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone. That's what you have in the what? In the posterior lobe of the pituitary. Then the other hormone, the rest other hormone, all of them they anterior. Just know that, and you don't master everything. All right. So the oxytocin, what is its function? It helps to what? It stimulates the ejection of milk through the nipple. Okay, when a woman is breastfeeding, it stimulates the ejection of milk, breast milk through the nipple. Okay, it also helps in the contraction of the uterus during labor. Okay, during childbirth. All right. Then the ADH found there. What is the function of the ADH? Antidiuretic. Diuretic means water. Anti means against. So it's a hormone that is against water. Okay, so it what? It prevents the loss of water in the body. So this antidiuretic hormone, it forces the kidney to what? To reabsorb water, to conserve water. So it prevents the excretion of water from the body through the kidneys. Okay, so immediately this antidiuretic hormone is released into the bloodstream, it forces the kidney to what? To start reabsorbing water. Okay, so to conserve as much water as possible. That's its function. And this normally happens when you are dehydrated, you have no water in your body, you don't sweat too much, your body is trying to conserve water so that may water not deplete. So it releases this antidiuretic hormone. All right, that's that for that. There is a pathology or an ailment called diabetes insipidus, whereby the patient lacks this hormone ADH. Okay, such patients tend to lose water. They lose water too much because the loss of water from the body is not regulated by any hormone because they lack this hormone. So the ailment is usually treated with, you know, supplementary ADH. So they supplement it. The patient takes this hormone. Okay, takes it on a prescribed dose. Okay, they are told on how they take this hormone to help regulate their water or regulate diuresis. All right. Now let's move over to the what? The anterior lobe of the pituitary. That's where we have the growth hormone or the growth hormone. You know that growth hormone is just a general name. Growth hormone, inside growth hormone is a general name. You have various specific hormones. Just know that growth hormones are hormones responsible for growth. Growth hormone include hormones like, you know, glucagon. Glucagon is a growth hormone. Tyrosine is a growth hormone. Any hormone that stimulates growth, any hormone that has anything to do with growth, is called a growth hormone. Okay, so the growth hormone stimulates what? The elongation of the bones and the maturation of the muscles. Okay, also the growth hormone forces the body to metabolize. Okay, it forces the body to metabolize, to catabolize, so that energy can be formed, because energy is required for growth. All right. So you also have prolactin. Okay, secreted by the mammary gland. Okay, secreted by the mammary gland. It is that prolactin that forces the breast, the mammary gland, to produce breast milk. Okay, you also have TSH, which is what? Thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, thyroid stimulating hormone. This hormone is usually formed by the what? By the hypothalamus. Okay, it's formed in the hypothalamus. It's a releasing factor. It stimulates. It stimulates the thyroid gland to release its hormones, such as tyrosine and calcitonin. All right. So that's the function of thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay. There's also a hormone called thyroid releasing hormone. Okay, that hormone is called, they are part of the releasing factors. Okay, you also have another one, growth hormone releasing hormone. Okay, growth hormone releasing hormone is a hormone that forces the parts of the pituitary that is involved with growth, or the hormones in the pituitary that are growth hormone, to be released. Okay, the growth hormone releasing hormone, once it's released into the bloodstream, it forces every gland that is involved in the release of growth hormone to release their hormones. All right, then still on the anterior pituitary, we have the adenocorticotropic hormone. The adenocorticotropic hormone, and this hormone is produced by the adrenal gland. That's where it's secreted, and that's where you have the glucocorticoid and the mineralocorticoid. I already told you their functions. All right, you also have the catecholamines, known as adrenaline and noradrenaline. Okay, adrenaline and noradrenaline. What's the function of adrenaline? For flight and fight. It prepares you for war. It prepares you for activity. Okay, it prepares you for activity. All right, so that's the function of adrenaline. And even noradrenaline, it's just that adrenaline is more potent. Okay, it's more potent. Anything where you do will involve activity, you are highly active, you are ready to fight, you are ready to run, you are ready. Is adrenaline that is bringing about that change in your body system. We also have follicle stimulating hormone, controlled by follicle releasing hormone. The follicle stimulating hormone forces the follicles to release a hormone, such as you have luteinizing hormone, and you have which other hormone you have? You have progesterone and estrogen. All right. So it is this follicle stimulating hormone that forces the ovary to release its hormone. Okay, such as progesterone and estrogen. Okay. Sometimes, especially during some later rounds of the menstruation, this progesterone is produced by the uterus. Okay, it's produced by the endometrium. All right, so you have to know that. Okay, so just know we have follicle stimulating hormone, we have luteinizing hormone, we also have hormones like progesterone, we have estrogen. Okay, produced in the ovary. Okay, luteinizing hormone is also produced in the testes. Okay, that leads to the production of testosterone, leads to the maturation of sperm cells. Now, this is another diagram of the pituitary. Okay, where we have the posterior part and the anterior part. You see that all the anterior hormones, they are all labeled where? Okay, they are all labeled inside this anterior lobe. Okay, see them: ovary, adrenal gland, adenocorticotropic hormone, prolactin. You can see that it's only two that is labeled on this posterior pituitary, which is oxytocin and ADH, that acts on the kidney, usually the loop of the Henle. Okay, the loop of the Henle. All right. So we also have another hormone in this anterior pituitary called melatonin. Okay, melatonin. Okay, it stimulates the production of melanocytes. All right, and it's found in the skin. Now let's look at the endocrine gland and its location in the body system. The endocrine gland and their location, all the endocrine glands and their location in the body system. Okay, the first here is the master gland, the pituitary. You can see it's located in the brain, just below the hypothalamus. That's where you have the pituitary. Okay, and it's called the master gland. Okay, adjacent to the pituitary, you have the pineal gland. And what is the function of the pineal gland? It produces melatonin. Melatonin is responsible for the sleeping cycle. Okay, it helps us sleep. It controls when we are asleep and when we are awake. All right, it controls when we are asleep and when we are awake. All right, so moving downwards, we have the thyroid gland. Okay, located just in the middle of the neck, close to the thyroid cartilage. You know, we have the cricoid cartilage in the top and we have the thyroid cartilage below. In between the cricoid and the thyroid cartilage, we have the cricothyroid membrane. All right, so just located on the thyroid gland, you have the four lobes of the parathyroid gland. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's on the thyroid gland. Okay, then moving downwards, we have the pancreas. Okay, produces insulin. Okay, it's endocrine function. All right, then we also have the adrenal gland. You have it on top of both kidneys. Okay, you know that the left kidney is slightly above the right kidney. Why? Because the right kidney has to go lower a little bit so that the liver can have enough space. You know, the liver is located on the right side of the abdomen. All right, so it's because of the liver. That's why the left kidney is slightly higher than the right kidney. All right, so we have the gonads. That's where you have the ovary, the hormones of the ovary, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, and in males you have the testes. In female is ovary. In the male, you have the testes, produce testosterone and also luteinizing hormones. Let's look at the function of each of the hormone. I don't already talk about that before, but let's look at the function of each hormone. Okay, let's look at it in depth. We have to be very fast. Okay, on the table we have on the screen, we have the endocrine system. They are dotless gland. They have no dots. I don't talk about before. No dots. They are secreted. They secrete their, their hormones directly into the bloodstream. All right. So among the glands, we have pituitary gland. We have thyroid gland. We have the parathyroid gland. We have the adrenal gland. All right. So we have to look at the hormones found in each of this: in the master gland, in the thyroid gland, in the parathyroid gland, and the adrenal gland. Just know that the pituitary is the master gland. The pituitary contains hormones that controls other endocrine glands. Okay, the pituitary is like the CEO. It is responsible for the control of other glands. The hormones that the pituitary gland carries is the hormone that tells other glands release your hormone or don't release your hormone. That's how you are going to understand it. It's the pituitary that tells other endocrine glands to release your hormone or don't release your hormone. It does it through the hormones it possesses. All right, let's look at it. The pituitary gland contains hormones such as growth hormone. When the growth hormone is released, it forces other gland, depending on the gland that it wants it to act on, to release its own hormone. Okay, thyroid stimulating hormone is a pituitary hormone that forces the thyroid gland to release what? Tyrosine. You can see how the pituitary gland controls other glands. All right. So the next here is adrenocorticotropic hormone. It's a pituitary hormone that forces the adrenal gland to produce its hormones such as mineralocorticoid and glucocorticoid. Okay, and also the adrenaline or the noradrenaline. All right. You have the follicle stimulating hormone. It's a pituitary hormone that controls the ovaries. It tells the ovary to release its hormone or not. Okay. You also have the luteinizing hormone, also the same thing, that tells the ovary to release the egg or not. You understand? So that's it. So you all know that the pituitary gland controls everything. So what is the function of the pituitary gland? It controls other glands, and what it also helps with what growth. All right. When there's a disorder in the pituitary, what happens? You are going to see gigantism and dwarfism. Okay. When the production of growth hormone is too high, you are going to see gigantism. You will see giants. Too much growth hormone. Growth too much, it will grow. Then when there's there is insufficiency of the hormone, you are going to see dwarfism. You will see short people. All right. So the next we have here is the thyroid gland, and the thyroid gland produces a hormone called tyrosine and also calcitonin. So the thyroid gland, the function is what? For metabolism, metabolic function, and it also has another function to regulate what? Calcium level, okay, in the blood. All right. So that calcitonin helps to what? Bring down the calcium level in the blood. All right. So, but its primary function, the primary function of the thyroid is for metabolism. All right. And it does this by what? Tyrosine. It forces the liver to metabolize, okay, to engage more in catabolism, to break down large molecules into smaller molecules so that energy can be released. All right. So when there is a disorder in the thyroid gland, what happens? You are going to see goiter. Thyroid gland will swell big, enlarged goiter, okay, due to what? Iodine deficiency. And this can be controlled by what? Supplementing iodine into the diet, usually through salt or medications. All right. So that's why the FDA has, they recommended that all salts we consume, all the salts we consume are iodized salts. Okay, iodized salts, so that to help prevent the occurrence of goiter. Remember, tyrosine contains iodine. That is the major ingredient of tyrosine is iodine that it contains. All right. So the next here is parathyroid gland. Okay, and the parathyroid gland produces what? The parathyroid hormone or parat hormone. All right. What does it do? What's the function? Blood calcium level regulation. That's its function. It helps to raise the blood calcium level. All right. The calcium level of the blood, it helps to raise blood calcium level. All right. So how does the parathyroid hormone does this? It's none of your business at your level. Okay, you are going to learn that when you get to a higher institution. All right. So the disorders of the parathyroid gland include tumor to the thyroid gland or tetany and so on and so forth. The next we have here is the adrenal gland. And what hormone does the adrenal gland produce? It produces the adrenaline and the cortisol. The cortisol are the stress hormones. The glucocorticoids and the mineralocorticoids. Okay, those are the cortisol hormone or the cortisol hormone. Anything cortical. So this adrenal gland produces adrenaline, noradrenaline, the cortisol, glucocorticoid, and mineralocorticoid. All right. And what is the function of this hormone? It helps us to fight or fly. Okay. When danger day, it helps us to run. Then it will give you the energy, the mind to run. You feel fly first. So if you say if you believe for your entire life, you feel fly. Okay. You will see person will carry bottle, no be clear adrenaline the war. All right. So it also helps us to fight. It also helps us to face our fears. Anything activity active now adrenaline. Okay. This adrenal hormone also help with what? Metabolism, such as the glucocorticoid, okay, that helps in the uptake of glucose, the metabolism of glucose, the use up of glucose, the control of blood sugar, the regulation of blood sugar level is the corticotropic hormone, specifically the glucocorticoid. So when there is a disorder in the adrenal gland, or there is a defect in the adrenal hormone, you are going to have disorders such as Addison's disease or Cushing syndrome. Okay, either you have Addison's disease or Cushing syndrome. These two syndromes are simple, very simple. When there is Addison's disease, it means that this cortisol hormone is insufficient. The adrenal gland produces what? Insufficient cortisol, okay, like the glucocorticoid, okay, and the mineralocorticoid. But for Cushing syndrome, so let me take, okay, for example, now when there is an insufficient hormone, corticotropic hormone, what do you expect in this Addison disease? Remember that this hormone helps to what? Helps in glucose uptake, okay, so it helps the body use up glucose. All right, so when the body can use up glucose, what do you see? The person go lean now, the person go lean, you understand? So that's that for that. The person go lean, the person don't go get body, and also the person go get problem with mineral, okay, electrolyte imbalance, and so on and so forth. So for Cushing syndrome, you know, it's a disorder whereby this corticotropic hormone is secreted in excessively, so it leads to what? Overweight. So there's going to be excessive availability of sugar in the body system. Too much sugar, too much energy, weight gain. The person will come get weight fat. Too much, the person will add too much because the hormone that, you know, that helps with glucose uptake, metabolism, is high. So what do you expect? This person will eat more, this person will get more weight, and so on and so forth. So that's it. One is this one, the other one is opposite of it. Up regulation and down regulation. Down regulation, when it's insufficient, Addison's disease. When is what is when it's excessive, you have Cushing syndrome. The next here we have is the pancreas. And what hormone does the pancreas produce? It produces majorly two hormones, insulin and glucagon. Okay, insulin regulates blood glucose level, okay, and glucagon too regulate blood glucose level. But one helps to reduce it, and the other helps to increase it. Okay, insulin helps to reduce it, while glucagon helps to what? Increase it. Okay, so the defect of the pancreas is diabetic mellitus. Okay, diabetes mellitus, whereby there is a lack of insulin. Okay, there's a lack of insulin, or the body can't absorb glucose, the body can't take up glucose, all right, leading to high blood sugar level always. The next here we have is the gonads, and the gonads produces hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and so on and so forth. Okay, and these hormones produced by the gonad is responsible for sex characteristics. All those characteristics that makes you a man, those characteristics that makes you a woman, is responsible for puberty. Okay, these are one of the hormones that takes longer time to act. Okay, so they take longer time to act. All right, so this hormone, these gonad hormones or gonadotropin, they also help with reproduction, childbearing, and so on and so forth. All right, so when there is insufficiency or there is a disorder in the gonads, what do you expect? You see infertility because reproduction is not well regulated again. You are going to see an immature sex characteristic. You will see their breast no go come out, no breast. You go see boy in voice no go tick. You go see boy, it will be like woman. It will look feminine, but it's male. Okay, you know, we get well developed muscle. You know, testosterone helps in muscle development. You go see the testes, you know, go develop well. There is going to have a sub-puberty, an inefficient puberty. Okay, an inefficient, you know, development of sexual characteristic, secondary sex development. You know, go see them because of waiting, because of insufficiency or harm or defects of the gonads. Now, this endocrine system functions under a particular mechanism. And there are two mechanisms at which it functions. All right. The most common mechanism at which the endocrine system or hormones function in the body is through the negative feedback mechanism. This first one, you have to understand it because Jamb, the set question over for here. I go simplify it for you. All right. Negative feedback mechanism means that it's automatic. Automatic. Okay. The body cells detect if a particular hormone is high or low. The body cells detect if a particular thing is high or low. So when the body cells detect it, the body cells sends what? Signal to the pituitary, okay, through the hypothalamus, and the pituitary what? Releases a hormone to correct that defect, to bridge the gap, okay, to ensure that correction is attained. Okay, so that's it. It's automatic. It controls itself. It's detected by the cell. When the blood glucose level is high, the cells detect it, and the pituitary releases something to force the pancreas to produce insulin. And when the pancreas produces insulin, what happens? It reduces the blood sugar level. Okay. For example, again, another example, when the blood sugar level is too low, the cells in the body detects it and it sends the message to the pituitary straight up. And immediately the pituitary receives the message, it sends a releasing factor to the pancreas. And the pancreas does what? It releases glucagon that what forces the conversion of glycogen stored in the body to glucose, so that the blood glucose level can be raised, so that the brain no go die. So that's it. It's automatic. Okay. Immediately this one go down. This one don't already signal. This one say how far that side. The dog guy will release your hormone. Go. And hormones are specific to receptors. Hormones are specific to receptor. And if you release hormone now, we're supposed to go work for the pancreas now. For example, the pituitary release growth hormone releasing hormone. that acts on the pancreas and forces the pancreas to release its hormone, glucagon, for example, and the pancreas releases the glucagon, and you go see that same hormone go come go dey act on another organ again or another gland like adrenal. No, e no dey happen like that. It only acts on the pancreas. That hormone, when it gets to the bloodstream, now only the pancreas it go act on. Okay, now only the pancreas go hear, go understand in language. Okay, so once the hormone is eventually released, and this automatic system, negative feedback mechanism, it continues to monitor the system through what? Through sensory cells. It monitors the system. Immediately as it gets to normal, it stops. It sends an inhibiting factor to stop the secretion of that hormone. Okay, so you just continue to release the hormone. Small guy become high, pass high, supposed to be no. It continues to monitor it. That's why it's automatic. Monitors it. Immediately as it gets to the normal range, within the normal range, it sends an inhibiting factor to stop the release of that particular hormone, and everything balance is stricken. Now let's look at the opposite, which is what? The positive feedback mechanism. So the positive feedback mechanism, one of the most common hormone, and if not even the only hormone that works through the positive feedback mechanism, is the oxytocin hormone. The positive feedback mechanism is the mechanism whereby there is just the release of the hormone continues to increase to the fullest maximum until the end of the process is reached. The end of the process marks the end of the release of the hormone, or it marks the end of the positive feedback mechanism. The end of the process marks the end of the release of the hormone and the positive feedback mechanism. So the gland continues to release the hormone, continues to increase its release until that process end, and then will end the positive feedback mechanism. So increase to maximum effect, the outcome marks the end of the process. For example, oxytocin continuous secretion stops when the baby is born. So oxytocin, the posterior pituitary is continuously stimulated to increase, to maximize the secretion of oxytocin during childbirth. Until the baby is born, oxytocin will continue to be secreted. The secretion of oxytocin will continue to increase until that baby is born. Immediately that baby is born, the secretion of oxytocin falls. Okay, so that process, the outcome of the process, which is the delivery of that baby, sends a signal that the baby has been born, the process don't end. So the posterior pituitary will receive the signal, and that's the inhibiting factor. It stops the release of oxytocin. So in our next class, we are going to continue with plant hormone known as the phytohormones. See you in the next class. No time, no time!